What Christ was writing down in the sand was those priests' sin. That's why it says they all slipped away from the oldest to the youngest. So they left Christ, like Zion said. Christ didn't tell those men to leave. They left and they sealed their own fate. The woman received, like Karab said, she received the grace of the Lord. Not that the Lord was co-signing adultery, but the Lord said what she did was no different than what these men did. And whatever he wrote in the dirt was worse than what this woman did, because they dipped out. they dropped the stones and dipped out. So whatever Christ wrote was worse than what this woman did.
God, I want to read this too, just to prove how you said 3,000 people died once that law was given, but once that that order was established, going back to the early church in Acts, it was 3,000 souls that were added to the church, and which that brought life. So it wasn't a coincidence. Those things definitely match up with each other. 1 Corinthians chapter 3 verse 6, who have also made us able ministers of the New Testament, not of the letter, but of the Spirit. For the letter killeth, but the Spirit giveth life. And those 2,000 souls were given what? Eternal life, right? So that letter of that law, it brought death. Paul called it the ministration. Matter of fact, I'll read the next verse, right? But if the ministration of death, Paul called it what? The ministration of death, written and engraved in stones, was glorious, so that the children of Israel could not steadfastly behold the face of Moses for the glory of his countenance, which glory was to be done away. How shall not the ministration of the Spirit rather be glorious? For if the ministration of condemnation be glorious, much more than the ministration of righteousness exceed in glory. For even that which was made glorious had no glory in this respect, by reasons that the glory excelleth. For if that which is done away with was glorious, much more than that which remained is glorious. Seeing that we have such great hope, we use great plainness of speech, not as Moses, who put a veil over his face, that the children of Israel could not steadfastly look to the end of which was abolished.
You see, that's what Tazariak was afraid to admit. Yeah. That's how you know that cat ain't under the New Testament. Because when Hassan said, "Is it abolished?" Oh, nah, it ain't abolished. What? You a fraud. 13 says it's abolished. Ephesians 2:15 also says it's abolished. Romans 10:4 says Christ is the end of the law. What? Hebrews 8:13 says that which waxeth old is now ready to vanish away. Don't be scared. So that lets you know he was a fraud. He's an old covenant cat undercover. Because right here it says it's abolished. Ephesians 2:15 says it's abolished. The law of commandments are abolished. What is he talking about? Why is he afraid to tell Assad what the scriptures say? Unless he's being a fraud. Dude, it's abolished. It's okay to say it. See, the reason why they don't want to say it's abolished, because they know that's what the Christians say. The law's abolished. Well, it is. It's been the word abolished just means to be replaced. That's all. But he was afraid to admit it. So how you under the new covenant and you say it's not abolished? That don't make no sense.
Verse 14, it says, but their minds were blinded, for until this day remaineth the same veil untaken away in the reading of the Old Testament, which veil is done away in Hamashiach. But even unto this day, when Moses is read, the veil is upon their heart. Nevertheless, when they shall turn to the Lord, the veil shall be taken away.
Hey, Zion, can you read that Ephesians 2:15 to go with that 2 Corinthians 3:13? Because this is what Tazariak wasn't man enough to say. He wasn't man enough, man. Hassad put the spotlight on him. That's why he never wanted to debate, because he didn't have to come out and say, I'm really old covenant. Because Ephesians 2:15 goes right with 2 Corinthians 3:13.
Yep, this is the book of Ephesians, chapter 2, verse 15. Having abolished in his flesh the enmity, even the law of commandments contained in ordinances.
Not no sacrificial law. He was a coward last night.
I wanna get that. I'm gonna pull that video up too. I'm gonna read this and I wanna pull that video. Hey, Shalom, Don. Shalom, brother.
Shalom. Y'all busting your bucket thumb.
Khan, Shalom, bro. Grace, peace, love, much mercy, bro. It says, Ephesians 2:15, having abolished in his flesh the enmity, even the law of commandments contained in ordinances, for to make in himself of twain one new man, so making peace.
Now you heard him tap dancing like Sammy Davis Jr. on that.
Takes place. So in 30.
God. So what I want to do is, I want to pull this.
Beginning of the show.
I want to, cause it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing, and it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, don't try to teach the covenant. Don't try to be lukewarm. Don't try to take, don't try to mix the wines here. You know what I'm saying? You got the new wine, you got the old wine. You know, keep them separate. Don't try to take the Gucci shirt and try to, you know what I'm saying? Use put a patch from the Woolworth clothing, or don't do that. You know, let the old be the old and let the new be the new, because you'll embarrass yourself. So can you brothers see this? Can you brothers see the screen?
Yep.
All right. It's a quick video. We're not even gonna play it all. We're gonna play the beginning.
I asked you if the old covenant is abolished, and you said yes. What is beginning of the show? I asked you if the old covenant is abolished, and you said yes. What is the old covenant?
The old covenant is the laws that we agreed to keep when Moses brought them down.
So the law.
Yes, the laws. That's correct.
So the law is abolished.
Hell no. Who said that?
Okay. I asked you. Let me repeat it again. Is the old covenant abolished? You said yes, right?
I said the old covenant. The law, to be specific, when the Old Testament is abolished. That's correct.
Okay. Okay. And the Old Testament and the Old Covenant are synonymous.
Yeah, I would say that covenant testament. I would agree with that.
And it's abolished.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And the Old Covenant is the laws that Moses gave us.
Yeah.
And so you're saying the laws that Moses gave us are abolished?
No.
There's no sound for the video.
Yes.
There's no sound?
Nah, there's no sound.
You brothers couldn't hear? Is it, none of you brothers can hear that, or just that brother?
Nah, I couldn't hear it either.
Oh, God. Hey, Karab. Okay, if your browser has lost connection to your screen audio, try sharing your screen again. Restart your browser. Which is a problem. Alright, let me see something. Karab, you here?
They're trying to make the new covenant of the world. Yeah, go ahead, bro.
So sorry. Let me see. They were saying that there was no sound. So let me see. Let me see something real quick. Let me try it one more time, Karab.
Do it. All right. So what do you? Yep.
Let me.
Who's gonna act?
Can you brothers hear?
The old covenant is the laws that we agreed.
Yeah, you can hear it.
You can hear it now?
Yeah, we hear.
All right.
And you said yes. What is the old covenant? Beginning of the show, I asked you if the old covenant is abolished, and you said yes. What is the old covenant?
The old covenant is the laws that we agreed to keep when Moses brought them down.
So the law.
Yes, the laws. That's correct.
So the law is abolished.
Hell no. Who said that?
Okay. I asked you. Let me repeat it again. Is the old covenant abolished? You said yes, right?
I said the old covenant. The law, to be specific, when the Old Testament is abolished. That's correct.
Okay. And the Old Testament and the Old Covenant are synonymous.
Yeah, I would say that Covenant Testament. I would agree with that.
And it's abolished.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And the Old Covenant is the laws that Moses gave us.
Yeah.
And so you're saying the laws that Moses gave us are abolished?
No. Yes. Then he's gonna ask me about the law.
So I'm gonna leave it there, right? And
hey, shalom. Hey, much mercy to all you brothers, man. Much mercy. May the Lord continue to make brothers, to build brothers up so they can continue to be stronger and stronger and stronger, man. Beautiful sit down the brothers did last night, and I want to just go off a couple of points, because what this thing is, what this is you're understanding the covenant. You're understanding certain principles. And one of the main things, so you could be up to date with the Bible and really understand what it really is that old law was abolished. Oh, the scripture tell you in 2 Corinthians that it was put away. You see, guys don't want to put away the old covenant, but the old covenant was put away already. You see what I'm saying? Like just like spirits were chosen already. Just like prophecy was written already, the old law was put away already, and groups set up to hold you to the old law that let you know that they're of Satan. You see, it's real easy. Anything that's like really out there like that, it ain't really good for you in this time. As pertaining to doctrine and groups and churches, you see, this is something that you're gonna have to get in the spirit. You know, Paul referred to this new covenant as like a building that's being built, but it's a spiritual building. You see what I'm saying? So this ain't no building made with hands or with groups or with camps. You say, or something of the world. This is something spiritual, man. So it's heavy. And it's time, if you don't have any type of understanding and wisdom of the new covenant, then basically you're in the world, you're in camp doctrine, and the new covenant is not dealing with everybody, man. It's very heavy in this time. So it's very heavy. I just want to read a couple scriptures the brothers was bringing out, and that old law is gone. It happened already. When they was breaking bread, man, in Matthew 26, and when all these things was happening in Matthew 26, when they were breaking bread and drinking wine, this was what was coming. The new covenant was coming. And after the Lord died on the cross, the temple rented in two, man. Is documented the earthquake and the temple tore in twain. That was the end of the whole law. Like, guys downplay that whole story in Matthew 26. Like, it's just, at the end of Matthew 26, 27. Like that, him doing that, and then the temple rending in twain and the earthquake, him doing that was the beginning of the new covenant. Everybody downplays that. You had physical signs that was happening on the earth, and then you had certain things that happened to the temple. So when you go to Matthew 26, he said, hey, this is my bread. So this is the agreement. So the agreement is simple. It's like, if you believe in the Lord, You see, and you understand the Lord and his testimony, then you're of God. If you don't believe and you don't really understand the testimony, then you're not. It's easy. And so what we're seeing is, guys, they just don't understand that this old law that guys are trying to hold to, it holds no weight. It holds no spiritual weight at all. Like it's like you're following something that ain't there anymore. And where everything is really in the spirit, you guys can't get to it because it's not given to you. So you're teaching false doctrine and you don't really have an understanding like that. So it's real heavy. Let's read this real quick. 2 Corinthians chapter 3. And 6, it says, who also have made us able ministers of the New Testament. And this is what was happening. Men were being made ministers in the first century. Stephen died as a minister. You see? Paul died as a minister. Because they were really teaching the testimony, not shit of the world. You see? They were bringing Gentiles into the fold. This is what they were doing. Teaching them that all men that believe in this time this ain't based on the old law through the carnal. So you can keep the old law, but you're keeping nothing. And it's like then if you don't have true belief that's really tied to this, then it don't mean anything. You could say you keeping the old law, and then guys that say they keeping the old law, we know they're not in the spirit at all. They don't really have an understanding like that, bro. And so this is why we're teaching, because the Lord said he purchased certain men with a price. So like certain men that's purchased with a price, they're going to understand the Lord's doctrine and his understanding and his true testimony, which the Gentiles can come into this by belief. It ain't nothing about no man or no contract or nothing. This is spiritual. You see, like it's crazy. And the new covenant been here. It's in the hearts of certain men that have understanding, not teaching false doctrine. So it's real easy to see all the false doctrine. 2 Corinthians 3 and 6, who have made us able ministers of the new covenant, not of the latter, not of the old. Not of the old. We're saying nothing about the old. Like you guys can't get that because you're not of the new spiritually. So it's real easy to see who's of the new and who's of the old, man. It says, not of the latter, but of the spirit. For the latter killeth, but the spirit giveth life. So this is something spiritual. It is nothing carnal. This is spiritual, bro. It really is. So this ain't of the old carnal. Matter of fact, I have to grab this in Hebrews. I have to bring this in Hebrews because nobody brings this out. Like you'll never hear this in the camps. They'll never bring this out because they want to keep you under the law. You see, so it's heavy. It's heavy like that. Yep. Let's see, Hebrews 7 and 12. So this all happened in the first century. When the Lord came and then when he died, this was initiated in the spirit and then it's already done. What we have is just Satan just fighting against the spirit. And basically, it's all going to be over with anyway. But you have to understand where you lay at. If you believe or you don't. It's just that easy. You see what I'm saying? Hebrews 12, 7 and 12. And if you're of the world, you're holding to the old law because you have no capability of really understanding the spirit. You're just a carnal brute beast, like what Peter said. Guys are just carnal. They don't believe in anything. They don't have any mercy, faith, or any type of understanding of true judgment. They don't have true judgment. You see what I'm saying? It's heavy. Hebrews 7 and 12. For the priesthood is being changed. There it is. That's the end of the old law. The old law was abolished. We don't have to, like, this tells you right here too. Just like all over the New Testament tells you that the old law is done. Hebrews 7:12. For the priesthood is being changed, there is may of necessity a change also of the law. So everything's been changed now in the Bible. Now everything's been changed. So now this is totally on belief. It ain't on nothing carnal. It's like you've been duped to think this is everything of carnal. You've been duped to think like this is of sea line and of carnal. But you don't understand that our people are a lot of them are the reason why the Lord got it handed over. He said the ones that gave me up had the greater sin. So now you got to understand that the majority of people teaching, they don't even really believe they're against the Lord. And so now you really got to see that. Because there shouldn't be no debate if we're in the old or the new. You should know why the Lord came. And then you would already understand that we're in the new. It has nothing to do with the old. You guys that just can't understand that just means that you're not of the Lord, bro. Because you would understand through the Spirit that this ain't of the old. So the priesthoods being changed, there is made a necessity of the change of the law. For he of whom things are spoken pertaineth unto another tribe, of which no man give attendance to at the altar. You see that? For it is evident that our Lord sprayed out of Judah. So it's telling you, like the brothers going into, that the scepter, that Judah, and this was really going into the Lord. It's heavy. It says, for it is evident that our Lord sprang out of Judah, which tribe Moses spake nothing concerning priesthood. So this is a whole new priesthood. It has nothing to do with the Levitical priesthood anymore. This is the order of Melchizedek right now. You see, when they broke bread in Matthew 26 and then in Luke 22, that was like initiating, bringing it in. They were drinking to it, eating bread to it. And then when he died, the blood, the bread and the wine represents the Lord. This is a spiritual thing. So guys that didn't believe in the Lord back then, they were cut off. And we see the guys that don't believe in this time, they're gonna be cut off. It's a understanding. It's not carnal anymore. So that's why the third temple is not like a carnal place where you're gonna go. It's not a carnal group. It's something spiritual, which takes you to learn all over again. Like everything you learn in the camps, you gotta learn everything over. Your elders, they're all senile, man, and it's heavy. It's like we feel sorry for y'all. But it's like these guys, they really they're not spiritual, because the old law is not spiritual. You see, it's not a faith, like Paul said, and the law is not a faith. Hebrews 7:15, it says, it is yet more evident, for after the similitude of Melchizedek there arises another priest. For that after the similitude of Melchizedek, there arises another priest. This is going into the Lord. It's spiritual. You got to have a spiritual connection, who was made not after the law of carnal commandment, who was not made after the law of a carnal commandment. So what's the carnal commandments guys are holding? Carnal groups and carnal understanding and carnal dates. The Lord, when you really believe in him, he's an eternal atonement. So it's heavy. Just a lot of guys just can't understand the Lord like that. So this priesthood is not under any carnal commandments. Hebrews 7:16, who was not made after the law of carnal commandments, but after the power of an endless life. So this is different. And so if you don't really understand it, you ain't going to have the power of the light. The scriptures say if this gospel is hid, it's hid to guys that are lost. And this has nothing to do with the world or waiting on a new body or this has nothing to do with you hating Esau. Because you're using Jacob I love, Esau I hate. And Jacob I love, Esau I hate. He hated Esau for selling his soul. That's what that hate is about. So you guys that sold your soul, that's what that hate is about. He hate guys that sell a birthright for some temporary shine. It's heavy like that, man. That's spiritual. It's not. It's what Esau did. So he's not telling you that the whole race is doomed. The Gentiles too was able to come into this. And remember, the Lord was healing Idumeans and Samaritans just by them believing on him. And the guys are trying to gatekeep who can believe or not. It's crazy. Hey, this is a very evil time. Guys that are holding you to the old law, and it's right here in Hebrews 7. And I can go multiple places. There's so many places where it tells you in the Old Testament that that old covenant is out of there. Hebrews 7:17. For he testifies there are priests forever after the order of Melchizedek. So the order, this is a whole other order, and this order was before the law. When you go back to Genesis, I think it is 18. Real quick, right here, they were drinking bread and wine just like the Lord drank bread and wine with his disciples before he died. It's very crazy what's happening. You see, let me read this real quick. It's real heavy like that. Genesis 14:18, and it says, and Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought forth bread and wine. And this is before Exodus. You guys, you're that's why, like, you guys are late. You guys are the law. You're like after what we're doing. You're doing everything they were doing after Melchizedek and after Abraham. You know, after all these guys, then Exodus come. What was that? Abraham and Abel, Enoch. You see, who else? So Abraham was eating bread and wine with Melchizedek in the beginning. This is in the beginning. You see what I'm saying? And so what did they eat at in Matthew 26? Genesis 14:18. And Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought forth bread and wine, and he was the priest of the Most High Power. Woo! So Melchizedek, back then, Abraham was paying tithes to Melchizedek. So now when you go to Matthew 26, so that's spiritual for now. It's started. The bread and the wine. Matthew 26:26. And as they were eating, the anointed took bread and blessed it and break it and gave it to the disciples and said, take it, eat it. This is my body. And he took the cup and gave thanks of them, saying, and he took the cup, right, and gave thanks and gave it unto them. Drink ye of it. So what are you drinking of now? You're drinking of the Lord. You're eating of the Lord. Was that represented the same thing in the back with Abraham in the wine, the bread and the wine? He broke the bread. Teaching this new covenant, you're breaking bread in the spirit, bro. It's heavy. You guys don't have no understanding because you're trapped in the old covenant. You're trapped with a veil over your face, so you really can't see what's really going on right now. And it's heavy because if you really are teaching and believing in false doctrine, you're blinded by the God of this world. You see? Matthew 26 and 27, and he took the cup and gave thanks and gave it to them, saying, drink it of all, for this is the blood of the New Testament. So that means that the new covenant started right there, all right? That was the end of the old law. All them, this before the Lord went on the cross, and then when he went on the cross, that was it. It's heavy, bro. For this is the blood of the New Testament, which is shed for many for the remission of sins. So for the remission of sins, that goes into the atonement. This is an eternal atonement for men that actually believe. For men that actually believe. It's an eternal atonement. All right? This is eternal, man. If you can't believe this, that means you're not eternal. So that's the atonement. That's what happened. So everybody that believe, all these things happen for you. They open up for you. And a lot of guys don't. They believe in the old law. Which you're under that old law, you're under a dark cloud. Your life is dark. You don't have the fruits of the Spirit. So therefore, you don't even understand what the New Testament is about. Romans 5 and 10, it says, for if when we were enemies, we were reconciled to God by the death of his Son, much more being reconciled, we shall be saved by his life. So by him dying one time, he did that once. Now the only way you can really be of the Lord is by really believing. So at the end of the day, you ain't fooling nobody but yourself. If you really don't have the understanding and you really don't believe, you're just fooling yourself. You see what I'm saying? A lot of guys are upset. It's because they can't really understand what we're doing. They can't really understand the Lord. Let's just say it like that. So they're mad at us because we can understand. And so then that's where the hate comes in. And this is why they hated the Lord, the Pharisees, because he would come with understandings that they didn't understand. Like the Lord told them in John 5, you honor men. That's why you can't honor the Lord. Because you're honoring men. This is why guys cannot honor the Lord. Let me read that. Romans 5 and 11. And not only so, but we also joy in the Lord, in our power through our Lord Yahushua. Hamashiach, in whom we have received the atonement. By whom we have now received the atonement. Salakia. So in the first century, men were receiving that atonement. So what's happening here is men getting you not to even believe that it happened. Man, which is really wicked, bro. It's really wicked. So the old law is abolished, man. And what's heavy is, guys, if you're not really spiritual, then you're not going to really understand this. It ain't nothing it ain't nothing too much we can do for you. You see? And so I'm reading this out of the KJV so you can understand this too. Like a lot of guys don't read from the other translations. So like you're missing out too, but I'm just reading it plain to you. Matter of fact, that word abolished too. Yeah, man, it's heavy. I wanna read this real quick. Let's get this right here. Matter of fact, let's get this right here. Because guys don't really understand what the Lord really did. So I'm gonna read. You know what? I am gonna read this in the NLT 2, Ephesians 2:14. It says, "For He is our peace, who have made both one, and have broken down the middle wall of partition between us." So this is going into the Jews and Gentiles. You know, anybody that believes right now, you don't even need. All you need is a belief. So there's so much unbelief in the world that you really believing in one thing is kind of crazy right now. Just by you believing and having a heart to really see what's going on. A lot of guys don't have a heart like that. You know, it's heavy. So they will teach you false doctrine and a misunderstanding. You see, it's heavy, man. Now, Ephesians 2:14 in the NLT, it says, "For the anointing himself has brought peace to us. He united the Jews and Gentiles unto one people." Hamashiach, this is what happened. All them signs of the bread and the wine and everything, this is a sign of the Lord breaking down the middle wall, the temple written in two. It says, "Into one person in his own body, and on the cross, he broke down the wall of hostility that separated us." So you see that? Ephesians 2:15 in the NLT, having abolished. So that abolish is in the KJV. So I want you to read this word, abolished.
Strong's G 2673. Katargeo.
Right. So this is right here. It means that this is the understanding of this is the end of the old law. And everybody holding to the old law at this point, you're of the world. You're carnal minded. You're not spiritual. So that's why you can't understand certain things. It's real simple. And guys that are holding to the old law, you know, you there's nothing there. It's like a dry desert. You know, Mount Sinai with no spiritual understanding. You just have hate in your heart. Your hate won't allow you to really understand this. It's heavy, bro. Guys, hate, full of debate, just like it tells you in Romans. It's certain things that let you know that guys ain't in the spirit. Always want to be in a debating spirit. That's not of the spirit. It tells you that in Romans. Guys are full of debate. So basically, if you don't really have this understanding, it's really gonna be like known, like real easy. And if you're not really of this like that. So that's why, like, if you try to get out here and act like you teaching a new covenant and you don't know what you're talking about, it's really going to be made clear. So abolish, that word abolish, to render idle, unemployed, inactive, inoperative. The old covenant is inoperative. You guys operating in the old covenant, you're inoperative in the spirit. You're inoperative, you're inactive in the spirit, all right? You're not in the spirit in the old covenant. You're dead. This is why Paul said he was dead to the law, man. So you got to let all that whole thing go, man. You got to let that whole old law go. You got to let this doctrine of these elderly men teaching in these. You got to let all that go, bro. And really understand this for yourself. Because they don't know what they're talking about. The ones that are of God, you're good because you believe. A lot of guys really don't believe. They make it all these technicalities. That's of the flesh. That's just making excuses because they don't believe. You see what I'm saying? They don't believe the natural Gentiles. That's just an excuse because they don't believe in it. That don't mean that the Lord signed, sealed it, and delivered it. I mean that he didn't sign, seal it, and deliver it. The covenant was signed and it was sealed already. Along with that being sealed, it's been sealed in certain of our hearts. So the old covenant is rendered inactive and operative to cause a person or a thing to have no further efficiency. To cause a person or a thing to have no further efficiency. So a lot of you guys are not efficient in the scriptures. So therefore, you're inactive in the spirit. It says to deprive of force, influence, or power. That's why guys say they're waiting on power. It says to deprive of force, influence, or power. So in the spirit, they don't have any power. Maybe with the world, carnally, but by holding to that carnal law, you're inactive in the spirit. You see what I'm saying? It's heavy. It says to cause to cease, to put it into, to be done away with, annul, abolished. So the old law, it was put away. It was abolished. To cease through path, to be done, to cease, to pass away, be done away, to be severed from, separated, discharged, loosened from one another. Like you discharged out of the fucking army, like certain brothers gotta, like you gotta get discharged out of it. That's what happened. We're discharged from the old law, certain of us. But not all of you guys, So it's like you don't understand that. You got to debate if we're in the new covenant or not. And clearly it already happened. It's just that if you can't really get it, this ain't for you. To be severed from, separated from, discharged from, loosened from any, to terminate all intercourse with one. So terminate all intercourse, to terminate even being in that. It's terminated. It's crazy, bro. Abolished, done away, loose, cease, deliver. So you guys that are holding to the old law, you're not in the spirit. And you know what, man? With that, man, I'm going to get out of here, man. Repent to the new covenant. Come out of all these carnal camps. If you're of the spirit, you're going to really see what we're saying. If you're not, you're going to be a brute beast teaching false doctrine until you die. You see? It's just that simple. Hey, with that, shalom.